like the greatest time to be alive, I think, is now. And if we are in that last sprint to 2030 where it's either us or them, like it's either dystopian, you know, digital enslavement for the rest of humanity, or it's citadels and Bitcoin and humans interacting and flourishing at a level that has never been seen on planet Earth. Like, this is the final battle, in my opinion. And if it is like Laser Huddle says, and 2030 is that deadline where it's either us or them, well, we all know that open source software and Bitcoin and uncensorable, censorship resistant money will freaking win that game, and centralized power has no match. There is no match to decentralized army of guerrilla cyber hornets that can literally act more retarded than you guys can act professional.
What a time to be alive. I totally agree with Optimist in that intro. It is a great time to be alive right now. We have just the awesome ability to really try and steer humanity in a better direction, but it takes us being active, it takes us being aware, it takes us not being complacent, and there's a lot of people out there that are waking up, and it's exciting. But yeah, today joining me, I have Optimist Fields and Weinicus, who are the co-hosts of the Bitcoin Kindergarten show, which is on Wednesday nights. It's a live show that they stream to YouTube, and have an awesome Discord chat. You can join in with voice or just share your comments via chat, and it's so much fun. I'm on there every Wednesday night. It's one of my favorite parts of the week. I look forward to it, and yeah, I was hoping to get them on the show, and we talk about all sorts of things. We talk about what's coming, how we survive it, how we fight these parasites that want to eliminate our self-sovereignty with technology. How do we use technology to allow us to achieve more sovereignty? And this is something that is critical with Bitcoin, and why it's different than all the altcoins out there is because it is about sovereignty. It's not about a company getting rich or this startup mentality. It's about creating a monetary system that is censorship resistant, that is confiscation resistant, that really empowers the individual and protects private property rights, and then does it, using Austrian economics with hard money. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible how empowering that is. But it was fun to get into this conversation with these guys. They're fantastic. Make sure to go follow them on Twitter and check out their show on Wednesday nights. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Cool. We're recording. Good to have you guys on. Stoked. Welcome, Optimist. And
what's up, bro? What's good? How you doing?
Doing fantastic. Yeah, so Bitcoin Kindergarten, it's definitely one of my favorite shows. I look forward to Wednesday nights. Big fan of what you guys are doing. How long have you guys been doing that for?
Me and Nick started Bitcoin Kindergarten May of 2020, so a year and some change every Wednesday. Actually, we took one Wednesday off, me and Nick, back in the day, but Nick can't mind. But now we do it every Wednesday, me and Weinicus and Jestifer, but Jestifer's on a break in Turkey. I got two Nomadic co-hosts, and they go and wander the world, and they make me FOMO. So, but yeah, we've been doing it every week for a year, man.
That's dope. Yeah, how did you get roped into it, Weinicus?
So, actually, Nico from Simply Bitcoin, he was the one that told me, hey, Wednesday night, you should go talk to these guys. Like, it's a fun little group. And I joined one Wednesday and figured, I found people that kind of think like me. Like, we're talking about how voting is useless and all these other things about Bitcoin. And I was just like, wow, I found my tribe, basically. And I got hooked as well, came every Wednesday. And then Nick Can't Mind, he got busy with Bitcoin Magazine. I think he's like the head of, I
Head
don't
of
know what,
news.
head of news.
Hmm.
So
He was social media manager back then. Now he's head of news, so making big moves.
yeah, he had too much bandwidth to handle Simply Bitcoin. So then I basically just shoved my way in there because I was just showing up every Wednesday regardless. So I just figured help whatever I could do to help Optimist out.
That's dope.
Yeah, in Miami we made some like Bitcoin kindergarten T-shirts for the conference, so those were a hit. And ever since I joined, we started live streaming on YouTube. So just little improvements, but it's more so I just like the fun of the group that joins and then the casual conversation that occurs. Like you can't talk about Bitcoin in real life really with people around you and they've had enough, but Wednesday night is your outlet to speak about everything you want or just act pretty trollish. So it's always a fun time.
Cause I'm an island boy and I've been trying to make. Oh, I'm an island boy.
I still don't really get the meme.
Dude, they don't make sense, but it's just ridiculous. It's just it caught fire on Twitter, and now everyone is just reappropriating it.
Yeah.
Those are real humans.
I think that's something I've learned from Bitcoin Twitter is to not try and think too hard about these memes.
Well, that's the funny part, because like some memes you have to think really hard about them, so you have to study a lot to get them, and so there's a lot of context to them, and then some like play on that idea that like, oh, you need a lot of context to get this meme, and you just make them as ridiculous as possible, and you throw them out there and you see if you're able to troll people and see if they think you're serious or not, or like, do they get the meta joke within the joke? So you're just amusing yourself, dude. It's all for the lols.
Yeah. It's kind of like an anti-meme or an anti-joke almost. Some of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of going back to what you said, Weinicus, about like Bitcoin Kindergarten is the place where you can actually hang out with like-minded people. You can't talk to normies about Bitcoin, and we're typically all surrounded by normies. It's weird how Bitcoiners are so scattered all over the place, and once in a while in day-to-day life, I'll stumble across somebody that gets it, and it's in the most random places. I don't know. Is that something you guys have experienced too?
Yeah, I mean, like Optimist always says, Bitcoiners are built different. So it's like this weird anti-authoritarian, like always seeking the truth kind of attitude, and I don't know. It's just it. I'm actually surprised with the group of people that I've encountered over the last like year and a half more than anything. Like I've been in Bitcoin maybe for like 4 or 5 years, but like the last year and a half, it really became more social for me and getting to know people all over the world, and we all just have the same kind of appetite for the truth and how people are rent seeking, and we call it out, and then we just have fun at the same time. So I gravitate towards those people, you know.
Yeah.
Me, I mean, in real life, away from Bitcoin Twitter, I don't think I encountered too many people. But I'm also like a lot of people know on Twitter. I'm not going to dox where I am, but a lot of people know I'm in commie heartland. So like I'm in the heart of the beast over here, and I don't really catch too many Bitcoiners outside of Bitcoin Twitter. But lately, I have been catching a lot more base people, like doing a lot more base shit where I'm just like, okay, like, all right, he gets it. He could be a Bitcoiner. Like he doesn't get it yet. He's a pre-coiner, but he could figure it out. So, but yeah, man, I don't know. I've been orange pilling my friends and trying just to convert them so I can have Bitcoiners around me.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think also like when you come across those people where you where like this person could be a Bitcoiner, like he's ready for the orange pill, but you got to give them like patience, time, because I always reflect back on my journey as to the steps that were taken to get to where I am and my thought process. And like even a couple years ago, I would have made many different decisions based on like mental frameworks that were not fully like Bitcoin ethos. So yeah, like those orange pilled people that are waiting for it. I think like I try to be patient with them, but just throwing little carrots and then hopefully they eventually turn. I think number goes up always fixes it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to I mean, I don't even know how I got into Bitcoin. When I look back, I think like when people ask me, I tell them, I started to learn about money. I went through like a Dave Ramsey series, so he was my first introduction to actually thinking about money, and then learned about the Fed, got super upset, and started getting into Bitcoin. And it was like a 4-year journey from statist to anarchist, like wanting the entire system to implode pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of funny to look back at the journey. It's hard to be impatient with some people though, or to be patient with people.
Yeah, that's all part of the Bitcoin Zen. And I think I had a similar aha moment as far as like more so the history of money and rather than the technology, because I heard of Bitcoin a few times before it really hit me, but then once you start to understand just the history of money and why we're using dollars in the first place, like people just don't question that at all. They just go on with their lives and spend their dollars and earn it and don't even know like how that came about. So those were like the moments where I really started to say like, whoa, this is something special.
Yeah. Yeah. So Optimist, why are you subjecting yourself to the heart of commie land?
Just because I'm a fucking pleb, bro. I don't got money. I'm barely fucking floating over here. So, but Bitcoin fixed this. I'm at the point now where I feel I have, at least the horizon of some options. Like soon I will be able to uh, be more nomadic and move around and be more agile and mobile. So I am where I am because it's where I grew up, dude. This is the area that I love, and I honestly I used to be proud of where I am and where I'm from, but now it's just like, man, it kind of hurts a little bit just seeing the ridiculousness and the wokeness and like I've said it before, I went woke and full woke, and then I woke up, and then once you wake up, you're like, holy shit, this shit's ridiculous. So it's been a long journey of unlearning a lot of stuff, and just happy to be where I am because like hanging out with all my Bitcoin friends, I get roasted all the time, but it's it's just part of the fun, it's part of the journey. Soon enough, when I'm not an uber pleb, I will probably be making moves.
Yeah. Well, you could be like Weinicus and just be, as he describes himself, homeless.
Dude, Weinicus is a baller though, dude. Like, don't let his like bum chic confuse you. This guy makes moves, bro.
Yeah.
I don't got as much mobility as this guy. This guy's secretly a baller. You guys don't even know who Weinicus is.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't trying to put down Weinicus. I think
I'm
it's
homeless. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I basically figured out like certain life hacks, and I think similar to Bitcoin, how it's pretty much information asymmetry. Like we're capturing a certain set of knowledge before the masses come here. I kind of do that with like designing your lifestyle, so I figured, why should I be paying for certain expenses and be stuck in a location where I can just own a backpack and then be mobile and go to countries where even the dollar is just viewed as the king, and just take advantage of low cost of living while seeing like the world, meeting new people and eating delicious food. Those are like pretty much my goals, and I'm in a point in my life where I can do that. Hopefully, I can do it longer. Who knows? But I don't really plan like too far into the future. I just enjoy every day. That's the goal.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely admire that. I definitely like have been interested in living that lifestyle. I do have a serious relationship that doesn't allow me to do that though, and I've chosen that over. But I mean, being able to travel outside of the U.S. would be pretty sweet right now, especially going down to El Salvador.
Yeah, I mean, you can always just like get a taste of it and go for a week or two or whatever. And I mean, there's not much stopping people from realizing like what they can really do. And people have these ideas like, I need $20 million to retire and like never work again. It's like, all right, so like, what are you gonna do with that $20 million? It's like, oh well, I'm gonna go to Asia and go on a motorbike tour around Vietnam. It's like, all right, well, I did that, and it was like $500 that whole month where I was doing that. So like, you don't need like all this money that you think you do.
That's dope.
Yeah, and it's also ingrained into the whole like Bitcoin's stack sats mentality. Like, don't buy useless junk or things that like, things don't bring you happiness. If you don't need it, then it's best not to own it. It just brings more problems.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, one of the things that I've learned from Bitcoin is that pretty much the entire society is just like lemmings running off of a cliff right now. And I think to understand Bitcoin, you have to get out of the uh, general consensus thinking. Uh, I mean, I dropped out of University of Arizona studying economics because I'd read a little bit of Rothbard and realized the stuff that they were teaching me was just complete trash. Especially like with understanding Bitcoin a little bit, and just watching people kind of march in lockstep towards, destruction essentially, of like piling on uh, student loan debt to then graduate and get a job, not paying a ton, to then go mortgage a house, to then go finance a car, to then go run up credit card debt. It's just, really silly, especially in this economic climate where things are so precarious. But yeah, I definitely admire that aspect of the Bitcoin culture of just like rejecting, these stupid social norms that are dumb.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I feel like I was a quote unquote Bitcoiner before I had Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those chicken or egg problems, like, are Bitcoiners made, or were you a Bitcoiner before you found Bitcoin? Because I'm the same way. I'm not much for authority figures. I go against the grain as much as possible, but I'm also like, trying to not be noticed too much, sticking out like a sore thumb. So I think it's just one of those things where like your whole life leads you to Bitcoin, and then you realize like, oh shit, okay, now I have a perfect reflection of what I need to fix now to succeed, because this money isn't lying to me. It's transparent, and so transparent that I realize I'm broken and I need to fix some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So I interviewed Alex Fetsky a couple weeks ago, and one of the things he talked about was like this remnant, and that's been a kind of a cool narrative or meme or description of what's happening with the Bitcoin community, where there's this remnant of individuals, positioning to rebuild society after things inevitably either just shift or collapse potentially. And I think like as content creators in Bitcoin, we have a really important job as far as like one combating narratives like they want to label us all or financial terrorists or white supremacists or stupid stuff like that, and then also kind of having to work around censorship because of how prevalent that is today. So there's like an aspect of it that's just like super fun to screw around and talk shit and tell jokes, but there is a very, very serious aspect of what we're doing right now and combating these evil people that are trying to push through their narrative. So yeah, I'm kind of curious what your guys' thoughts on that, if that influences you in your work.
I mean, I love the Bitcoin Remnant, the story or like the idea of the Bitcoin Remnant, because before I even knew what a remnant was, I've always had that ethos of like, okay, here is the truth as far as I know, and I am going to relay that truth in the way that I like to. It's like that Kanye line, I never get anyone who would have a fake persona. So to me, I don't fake the funk. I like to express myself how I want to express myself, and if that turns people off, then like fuck them. It's not my concern. And when I found that Bitcoin remnant, it's like, oh, now I realize like why a lot of people have resonated and connected with me on Twitter and all my friends. It's like, because we're the same way. Like, talk shit with me, joke with me, tell me the truth, but just don't sugarcoat it. And like, if you get it, you get it, and we can just keep on moving from that. And so now, subconsciously, I think I've osmosed that idea, and it's part of my whole like persona now. I just say like whatever crazy stupid shit I think of, and if it pushes people away, then like so be it. Like the Bitcoiners that it catches, like they'll get me for me, and they'll get like the character or the point behind it, and it's like, oh, I'm speaking to them because I am them, and they understand that we're not like everyone else. Like that's why me and Nick always fuck around with like built different. Sometimes it's like built different, like, yeah, we're special ed, and sometimes it's like built different, like we're better than you, and sometimes it's just like I'm a Bitcoiner. I have asymmetric knowledge that you don't, and it's made us different. We're built different. So the idea of the remnant to me, like, I love that idea, and sometimes I forget that I need to speak to the remnant. I get caught up in the whole, oh, let's spread Bitcoin to the masses, and we need we need the masses, and we need mass adoption, and we should water down the message so that everyone comes and everyone is a part of it. And you fall into that idea sometimes, you fall into that rhetoric, and then you're like, oh, this isn't authentic, and then you just like start talking your shit, and you just bring Bitcoiners in. So like there is, everyone's a Bitcoiner. I said it today, like someone was saying, oh, you still have normie friends. I'm like, yeah, like my normies are still pre-coiners. Like I love my pre-coiners, like everyone is a Bitcoiner, they just don't know it yet. And so you gotta communicate in various ways, and not everyone communicates in a well-tempered academic style, and that's not how you're gonna reach them. And some people fall asleep to monotone, and it might be dense with information, but they're not going to retain any of it. And then like two dumbasses like me and Weinicus come around, and we show up every Wednesday talking about Bitcoin, making ridiculous sound effect noises, and the Bitcoin message sticks of like 21 million Bitcoin, and censorship resistance and like teleport money across the world and like fuck anyone that tells me what to do with my money. And it
Nope. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I also don't hear him.
No, okay. I'm gonna pause it for a second till he comes back. Cool. So we lost Optimist for a second, but we're back. So yeah, you were kind of talking about not watering down the message.
Yeah, I don't know where I fell off, so I don't know what happened to the internet, but yeah, man, like in short, the once I was able to fully understand the Bitcoin Remnant message of it doesn't matter if you speak to the masses, you don't have to speak correctly to make an impact. If you speak true to yourself and to what you believe, there will be other Bitcoiners out there. Like Bitcoiners are everyone on earth, and not everyone on earth is going to hear the same message via the same medium and be swayed. Like some people need charismatic, like speakers. Some people need to be spoken to in a certain way for the message to resonate. And that's, like maybe subconsciously me and Weinicus have like purposely made ourselves full left side of the bell curve Bitcoin content creators for the hell of it and for the fun and for the lulz. But it's a way of like it's like a 48 powers of law. It's like play dumber than the mark that you're trying to catch. And so we act retarded to basically make it feel that our server, our medium is that much more approachable. Because when it's too proper, people get afraid, they get embarrassed, they get shy, and they're like, "Oh, I can't talk about Bitcoin. I'm gonna sound like an idiot in front of all these big Bitcoin names." When it's like me and Weinicus messing around with freaking soundboards and saying the dumbest shit and having memes go through our Discord, it's just like a different way of communicating to the remnant. And so it's just don't water down your message and just be true to yourself and speak to someone that's like you and you'll get your message across. And it might not be to everyone, it might not be to the masses, but the remnant's all that matters, like the world basically bends around the will of the minority of the individual. So one man can change it all, and that's the only person you need to really talk to is that one person, the remnant. So I love the idea of the remnant.
Yeah. I think you guys don't give yourself enough credit. You're definitely not polar left on the bell.
Yeah, it's on brand, bro. Like we have our moments, like when the two beams spark between the ears, sometimes we got a moment.
Yeah. Now that type of stuff is shilling shit coins on TikTok. Like that's like full left.
I mean, I think I could see Weinicus on TikTok. He'd probably be pretty good on TikTok. He's got the touch for social media.
No. This is like ironic left bell curve stuff, It's like left side parody.
Yeah. You're going to be shilling some or putting up some baking videos of banana bread on TikTok.
Yo, Weinicus, that's the next presentation.
It's whatever sparks one person to get that aha moment. It might be banana bread. Who knows?
Probably won't be, but it just might.
Very relatable.
Yeah.
Well, Weinicus is looking for the housewives and the baby mamas. He knows where the market is and the money is. Let's go, Weinicus. Get him with that banana bread.
That's funny. I will say, girls like baking, from my experience.
Yeah. Dude, all right, Weinicus. So the plan is you're going to make an $850 banana bread baking course with Bitcoin related. That is the way we will get women into Bitcoin.
All right.
Genius.
You could also start a SoundCloud, dread out your hair, bleach it blonde, and get some face tats.
Cause I'm an island boy and I've been trying to make.
I'm an island boy.
Gosh, it's so terrible.
Dude, honestly, I kind of like it now. I'm not gonna lie.
I just
the first time I listened to it, I had it on repeat like 4 times, and now I hear it and I'm just like it was just like, what is this? And now it's grown on me.
I feel like stuff like that just makes me, I don't know, get dumber.
Yeah. I don't know about get dumber, but it's definitely an indictment on Fiat culture, I presume. You know, I'm waiting on Safety's the Fiat standard to destroy all pop culture and art. So I don't have a high IQ think boy take on this, except for that I see the signs and I see the effects. So, you know, shit's lit.
When is he releasing that book?
I think soon. I got an email a little while ago. It was maybe a week or so back, a couple weeks ago, and he was, I think, taking pre-orders so that he can self-publish it. So it's going to be out either the end of this year or the beginning of the year. Maybe in time for Christmas. Who knows? But it's close. It's very close.
I heard that Brandon was going to take away Christmas, though.
Oh yeah.
Brandon's not going to let me have Safety's book for Christmas.
Everything.
Yeah. I've been waiting on that book for a while. I've also been waiting on Andreas's book on Lightning.
Mastering Lightning. Yeah, that might be cool. I've been sleeping on a few books, and my Amazon is getting kind of full right now. I got a few books that I need to pick up.
Nice. Yeah. My reading list is so ridiculous. That's like the big problem with hanging out with Bitcoiners is you get so many different suggestions. Like Heavily Armed Clown, I've been working. He's probably suggested on Twitter like 6 or 7 books, and I'm probably about 2 in. And to be fair, a lot of them are Rothbard books, which are extraordinarily long. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've started Human Action like 3 times, and I don't know if I've gotten past like 175 pages on each attempt. But yeah. I should probably just continue past that.
Yeah, I haven't even started that one. I've been doing. It's on my list.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe one day. I mean, with reading, I think we need to have the attitude of time preference too, because you can read a lot of books over time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm still on Instagram, guys, so shame me all you want, but you know, the Instagram post of like read 15, 20 minutes a day or 15 pages a day, you know, they're like, here's how to hustle, read 15 pages a day, and that's $300 a year or some shit. So it's like, but I try to get myself in reading habits, and I just like fall off after a month or 2 or 3.
Does reading memes count?
I sure hope so. I sure hope Twitter counts, because does it count, Weinicus? I mean, I don't know how to read, so the fact I can understand memes, I'd say it does count.
What do you think, Weinicus?
Does reading memes count?
Yeah.
I think making memes counts.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, you're your own judge. So if you feel good in reading memes, then all power to you.
The meme I've been enjoying the most recently is the or I call him Rug Pal, Lyota trains. I think that's been fantastic. I'm not sure if one of you guys started that.
Yeah, those are classics. Shout out Bitcoin Lyota.
That's who started it.
He's a must follow memer.
Yeah, I think I'm following him. Yeah, I'm surprisingly not blocked by Rug yet. That guy's such a tool. So speaking of that topic, so I love this segment that you guys started on the last Bitcoin Kindergarten, Spook or Saint. I'm a big fan.
Spook.
So Meltem is like high up on my shit list. Kiwi Hodl in the last episode of Toxic Airways messaged me mid-episode about that, and I almost had a conniption.
What did you find out about the leaf on air?
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep. So for anybody that's not understanding what we're talking about, Meltem, I don't remember how to say her last name, Demeanor or something like that.
Demores yeah, I don't know.
Meltem, the shitcoiner, now evil World Economic Forum employee, works for the World Economic Forum, who are the absolute enemies.
Yeah, I don't know how somebody can be content with themselves and work for that organization. Like, doesn't comprehend.
Yeah. It's like the equivalent of going and working in the IRS, like auditing people's taxes and saying that you're just trying to shift the system from the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
You go, I guess. I was just gonna say, it's like we were saying before we started recording. You know, it's that same idea. A lot of Bitcoiners, of, you know, like play along with the system and we'll change it from the inside. And most of us are like, dude, like fuck that shit. Like, make their system morph to our system because ours is superior. Like, they go fuck themselves.
We got a whole new system, so we don't need to be participants in that old one.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like just participating in the, like, something that Skeef and I talk a lot about is this idea of like going and trying to fix the system from the inside is just so silly because it's ultimately giving that system legitimacy. And versus when we circumvent the system, it shows how stupid and powerless it is and that it needs to shift in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we also don't even know how the current system even truly operates. Like, there's just so much backdoor stuff going on that we have no idea if like any election has really ever been like authentic or like what is actually going on. So the idea of like
they're all cousins.
Yeah.
Facts.
They're all cousins. They're all inbred. Yeah, it would make sense that Biden would be an inbred.
Let's go, Brandon!
Let's go, Brandon!
It seems like that came up on my radar today. So Joe Rogan. I'm a big Michael Malice fan. I think he's hilarious, and he interviewed Michael Malice, and it was like right at the beginning of the episode. It was pretty awesome.
What was Joe's take?
Oh, just that all of this is ridiculous right now.
Yeah, peak clown world.
Yeah.
We got to get Michael Malice to be like more of a Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah. I think probably one of my favorite conversations, like he seems to be coming around to the idea. I think he's got some shit coiners in his ears though. I think what's happening right now with like the censorship is what a lot of people are doing is they're, you know, when they get kicked off of YouTube, they go to platforms like Odyssey, which is built on library token, which, you know, is a shitcoin platform. And so I think things like that for people like Michael Malice kind of seem alluring, even though it doesn't, in my opinion, really solve any real problems. But yeah, I think like we're in an advantage position from the stance that we take with our content creation because, you know, I know personally I'm going to get deplatformed eventually, and it doesn't really matter because you know we can use the other ways to distribute information and speak to who matters, because I think it only matters when you're trying to reach out to the masses and get that, you know, massive audience. And I don't think that's what any of us are really going for, which is kind of a powerful position to be in as a content creator.
Yeah, man. Me and Weinicus joke about it every week that we're surprised we didn't get canceled this week. So we definitely know that we're gonna get canceled at some point, and we'll just spin it back up somehow, some way. You know, we'll continue to do the show somehow, but we definitely know that we are on a short-lived run, and we're surprised that we keep going. So that's just what makes it fun, man. You know, like saying wild shit on YouTube and just like seeing what they don't like, and you know, like we're here to spread the message of Bitcoin and to spread the idea of basically fuck you money. And how's it gonna look if all our content creators are spick span clean and saying all the right things and saying on YouTube? Like to me, I believe Bitcoin is like the equivalent to what the 60s counterculture was, but actually doing something. So it's a lot of rebellious spirits, and you know, there's got to be some of that comedy and that punk rock edge to it, or else like I wouldn't really want to be a part of it. And that's just the game that I see. And you know, while I would love to, you know, get a big Bitcoin influencer paycheck, we'll just be chilling with the plebs and stacking sats and talking shit and seeing how long we last.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that kind of brings up an interesting point because I think a lot of people are really underestimating the importance of what we're doing right now in the sense of like lasting legacy, because the world's going to shift and it's going to flip completely upside down in regards to power structures, and Bitcoiners are going to become, you know, the dominant people in society to a certain extent. They're going to be the most influential people instead of, you know, these fiat inbred parasites. And you know, you guys were talking about that on Bitcoin Kindergarten the other night. Like, are we going to forget like the stupid shit that Meltem's doing, or you know, some of these other people that are out there right now? Like, probably not. Like, that stuff's going to have an impact. So I think, you know, being a shithead scammer right now actually is going to have some pretty hard implications, whereas, you know, typically in the fiat world it doesn't. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah,
I mean, just go, Weinicus, go.
I think it's interesting. Just like I feel like Bitcoiners have some like different moral compass. Like monetary gains are not necessarily the main driver. Like it's not the primary motivator behind like what we're doing here. If not, people would be consuming in materials or already be buying houses and things like that. And it seems like that's not the sentiment. But once you like get into that mindset, it's interesting just watching human psychology, right? Because you're kind of like observing all this as like a fly on the wall, and you see how people behave and how they're driven by greed and like the clear intent that people are doing certain things Like it's very interesting to look at things that way when you're not basically playing the same game as them.
Hmm. Yeah. That's a really good
Uh,
point.
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Weinicus got Think Boy on us real quick.
I could do that
Got
sometime.
got real Think Boy on us. But yeah,
Let's go.
yeah, it's funny. Like I said it today in a tweet, but it's the same thing. Like once you start understanding Bitcoin, you start understanding like humanity better. And once that feedback loop starts having effects in your behavior, is when you really start becoming like a Bitcoin maximalist, and you start, really getting toxic, and you wear it with pride. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, could you imagine like looking at your children in 30 years and then being like, "Hey, Daddy, I just found out on the internet you were a Bitcoin scammer." Like, like Weinicus said, like maybe Bitcoiners are just built different. We have a different moral code, and like proof of work is a way of life. And like, can you prove your work? Are you a scammer? Are you trying to take shortcuts? Like, all this stuff makes a way down into like your DNA, dude. Like, it's not really just taught for the most part. Like, you really believe this shit. You really are, the Bitcoiner that you say you are. And man, I could never live with myself knowingly scamming someone and trying to steal them of their Bitcoin. Like I say it all the time. Everyone's a scammer, B. Like I tell that to my normie friends, and they're like, "What are you even talking about?" They don't get the reference, and I just like you'll learn one day. So I don't know. It could never be me, bro. Can't relate.
It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting because with Bitcoin maximalists or people that are like us, basically, there's just this like level of trust that, or maybe I'm just too vulnerable to trust people without like without potentially like putting myself at risk. But I feel like when I meet other Bitcoiners, like I can trust them a lot more just based on their moral compass and like motives. Like I feel like we're all pretty much good people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like the toxic Bitcoin maximalists, they see these idiots standing on the side of the road, and you get a bunch of normies biking down the road, and they're just taking sticks and trying to put them in the spokes of people's bikes and just watch them fall flat on their face. And we're the ones out there like, you guys need to stop putting sticks in people's bike spokes. Like that's bullshit. And then the people get off their bikes and they're like, "Why are you being so toxic?" Like,
You're so close-minded, bro.
yeah, he was trying to help me. Like,
Just trying to help me.
it's kind of an odd thing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, people are so fixated on like this conversation of like personality and how people behave and all this stuff when in reality like none of it really matters. Like the bitcoin system just keeps moving along, right?
Yeah.
Tick off next block. Like Bitcoin does not know who's using it.
Yeah. I think that's something that's, kind of hopeful looking in the future, is that, from an economic standpoint, Bitcoin is the hardest money there is, and therefore will defeat all these shit coins, and including the CBDCs. And it'll usher in prosperity for people that adopt it, in regions that adopt it. Like, it just gets me super excited to see what's happening in El Salvador. Like, I'm very skeptical of the government, but just seeing people use Bitcoin down there in that region, to think that a region that's been screwed over so many times by Western countries to potentially like flip the script and become dominant. It's super exciting. I mean, I think government inherently is evil and will probably try and pull something bad. Hopefully it won't be that bad, or the people amass enough economic power, they'll be able to defeat it. But yeah, it's cool to see that happen.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting experiment, and if this plays out the way we really think it will, then like to watch a country that is considered poor to just catapult itself to the top, it's going to be really awesome to see.
Yeah.
Like, and they're also just proving a model that other countries are just going to follow. Like the game theory is playing out, and now it's like game on in a sense. Every time the price pumps too, everyone's just like, "Oh my god, I'm short. I need more." So it's just a matter of time. It's happening a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah, no kidding.
El Salvador is going to prove that number go up doesn't just work at the individual level. It doesn't just work at the business level. It works at the nation state level. So they're gonna be fucking balling. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, like they have like 700 Bitcoin already stacked on their treasury. So it's interesting to see what. I mean, that could be like peanuts right now, but who knows?
Volcano mining too. A base president trolling the IMF and Keynesian economists on Twitter. I don't know. He sounds pretty base, bro. I've definitely been one towing the line of, is he dictator? Is he base president? And the more I see it, the more I think base president. He does ridiculous abbeys on Twitter. It's like he's one of us. It's the Wolf of Wall Street meme. You know, he's he's one of us. That's what it feels like. But hey, we'll see. There's a lot of rug pulls in this space, so maybe we'll get rug pulled by a politician, and it won't even be surprising considering how much we don't like politicians in the first place.
Oh, we'll definitely get rug pulled by a politician at some point. Yeah, that's almost a given. I saw this article this past week, which I got pretty angry when I saw it, but it was like this spin that the IMF approved a $1.5 billion loan to El Salvador because of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin influenced them. That's how the article was trying to spin it, or at least the headline was. And then getting into the article didn't say anything about that. But it's going to be pretty wild to see the narratives all over the place and how they're spun. And it's going to be pretty, it's already hard enough to figure out what's true and what's not. There's just so much misdirection, I think, being intentionally laid at our feet to try and confuse everybody. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure.
I have an idea.
I mean, what?
If we just
hold on.
All right, go.
Yeah, I just dang. While I agree with you, Tucson, I kind of feel like the opposite, but maybe it's because we aren't as dumb as we play. You know, like I feel like the fun is going to get so ridiculous that to us, it's going to be like no one can possibly fall for this. Like this is how bad it is. Like me and Weinicus were talking this week. Did you see that Yahoo News article that came out this week? And the person was talking about like clearing up the FUD in Bitcoin and getting the facts straight. And they were trying to talk about mining, and it was like completely ass backward. It was just like they had no idea what they were talking about, and they're trying to pass this off like, they're some kind of expert. So I feel like it's going to get more ridiculous. But that's one thing. It's like a superpower as a Bitcoiner. Once you understand how bad mainstream media is in regards to Bitcoin, you realize that they're probably the same way with everything else. And yeah, if you're listening to them still, you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's funny. Bitcoin experts should be a major red flag if somebody says that.
We had Gigglesmer or Gigi Lesmure. He's like a big time memer on Twitter. He changed his account to the Israeli Investment Fund Group and then tweeted in Hebrew that they're investing $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. Minutes later, it took.
It was on Yahoo News.
It went viral, and then Yahoo News reported.
Yahoo News is the worst.
And it was up for like a month. They just left it up there, and they didn't verify anything. It's just a fake tweet. So it's once you see things like that, like how can you trust anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of stuff like that. I think like Bitcoin Mafia was doing that on Twitter too, where he posted like a fake news story about the Catholic Church accepting Bitcoin. And that went around. I mean, those stories like that are so funny, and watching the mainstream media just kind of falter. I guess like I don't really like mainstream media as a term because it's really not. It's just like the corporate status media that like tries to like influence the conversation a bit and is pretty successful at that. Despite I almost feel like they're absurd on purpose in order to do that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just shock value, clickbaits. Like it's all just a game. It's obvious to us. And it's not obvious to everyone else. Like you can see how easily propaganda works. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole schmovid thing, but like 8 billion people like are convinced that wearing a mask is protecting them. So it's crazy.
yeah. Did you guys see Skeef's tweet about getting away with not wearing a mask on an airplane?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's something that I've like when I travel, I try to wear it as little as possible in the airports and get away with it for the most part recently. Um, to one, give people permission not to, and then two, to kind of wear these people down because I think they get tired of telling people. I mean, like when you look at the power structure, like I think we we build it up in our head a lot as far as like there's kind of a mythology that people in positions of authority are, you know, somehow qualified or above. Like there, you look at the president of the United States, and like this is something that was amazing about Donald Trump, and something that's amazing about Joe Biden is the two of them have just completely degraded that role of the presidency of both being worthless and incompetent, um, or at least like very open. Every president has been worthless and incompetent, but like very openly, where it's like difficult to believe that there's any legitimacy to it. And I think the same goes for like, you know, these government scientists like Fauci, who's a worthless idiot. And same goes for like the TSA agents that are groping you when you're walking through the airport. Um, it's yeah, I think it's interesting that yeah, like you were talking about, like the FUD is going to get so absurd going forward, and I feel like it already is. Just like, you know, the past year with COVID, it's like we're gonna, you know, do these things, and like it took me a couple months to kind of get through, you know, the mass hysteria and start to begin to push back. But I had so many conversations with people about how stupid the lockdowns are and how harmful they are to society and how they're kind of irredeemable to a certain extent of like, you know, you're going to create mass starvation in developing countries and, you know, completely destroy supply chains and, you know, traumatize children, like seeing like the suicide rates go up in my community, and then seeing food and water insecurity go through the roof. It was already problematic beforehand. I was just like looking at the stuff, and like you guys are literally that are promoting the mask, promoting lockdowns, promoting all the bullshit, are literally shooting yourselves and everybody else in the foot. And it's interesting to see people kind of come around to that idea as they realize, you know, they're looking at bare shelves in the grocery stores and hearing that Joe Biden's gonna take Christmas. So
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing about this is that it's just accelerating the eventual fall of these structures, and it's making us more prepared. Like now, these conversations about citadels and being responsible with your own food, and kind of like bringing it back to times where survival was reliant on yourself, not on these like huge corporations. So like that, at least there's always like a positive. And yeah, I mean, I've been hanging out on a farm here a lot in Costa Rica, and I see all these like guys working in the field and riding horses and building fences. They're obviously like killing their own animals and growing food, and I'm just like looking at them do this stuff, and I'm like, I feel like such a bitch. Like, like, like how do I not know how to do this stuff? Like, what have I been learning this whole time since I was little? Like, these are things that like everyone should know how to do. So uh, I always joke around with my cousin. We're like, we have to kill a chicken one day just to like prove we're real men, you know?
You'll have to come stop by my house. I'm almost done with my chicken coop.
Yeah, I mean, when I was traveling overseas in Asia, it's like common. Everyone has chickens in their backyard or whatever. So it was like the first time I witnessed like somebody killing a chicken for dinner for us, and it happened like already in 5 occasions. So like after the first time, I was kind of desensitized, but it really changes your outlook on like again the proof of work. Let's just say of what happened to get that food on your plate. Like people take so much stuff for granted.
Yeah, I think the meme I'm gonna continue to put out there is we need to all be more like Shishi.
I agree with that, dude. Honestly, I've been thinking that same way. Like, I fucking love Shishi. He's sometimes he's just contrarian for contrarian's sake, but that's why I love Shishi. But I love how he, like, without any fear of confrontation, will just ask you direct questions, and he's like, well, that's just like what we want to know. And it's like, yeah, bro, like sometimes we got to be a little more like Shishi.
Yeah, it's definitely like a goal of mine in the next 2 years is to become more like Shishi. He's really been on it.
His TA courses has also been really good too, bro.
His what?
I said his TA courses.
Does
His trading group.
His
$850 trading group. Hit him in the DMs. No, he doesn't have one. It's just like an inside joke where, because Shishi has been damn near like on point for the last couple of months in his tea leaf reading of the Bitcoin price. And while I'll be stupidly bullish, he'll be like, I don't know, dude. I think we're gonna have a dump. I'm like, no way, dude. No way. And
wow, those don't exist.
yeah, dips are illegal where we're going, and it's been kind of following what he's been saying. So I don't know. When Shishi gives me some charts to look at, I am definitely at least paying attention. Obviously, I don't trade. I don't even look at the price of Bitcoin anymore.
You don't have a Glassnode account?
Yeah, I don't have one. I am not a Glassnode whiz kid.
As far as TA goes, I much prefer the vegan witch astrologers out there. They seem to be pretty.
Oh yeah. I mean the full moon, the full moon TA has seemed to been on point for historically a long time. So full moon maximalist.
Does it typically pull back or run up?
I think it pumps on the full moon and it like dumps on a new moon. I don't know. I'm not much of a witch.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you read a little bit of Friedrich Hayek talking about the complexity of markets and how stupid central planning is, it kind of demolishes these ideas of technical analysis of like trying to predict where we're going with these dumb patterns. That's That's like some ultimate fiat theory right there. It's like what the Fed does. People working at the Fed do.
Let's hear like your outlook the next decade or so. Like sprinkle in some optimism in there. How you think things will unfold? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think what's ultimately going to happen is like what we're already seeing is there's going to be what I've heard called anarcho tyranny, in the sense of like the state is going to lose power in our lives, but they're going to also selectively enforce things and go after people selectively, kind of like what you're seeing up in Portland, Oregon right now. But, we're going to see things like they're going to go at raise taxes exponentially. They're going to, watching what's happening in California with like banning small engines and stuff like that is really bad and insane, and like the emissions that they're doing. And I think they're going to, continue to do that. I think they're going to try and usher in things like carbon taxes, which are really going to fuck people over. And I think ultimately that's all bullish because if you get out into society, and you get into, lower income neighborhoods, like where I live, there's a lot of immigrants, both documented and undocumented. And there's these massive cash economies that happen, and what happens every single time that they raise the barriers to entry, these beautiful things called black markets, which I like to call free markets, rise. And, people start operating outside the system. But what's different here is that we have incredibly powerful tools, and things like Bitcoin, encryption, private messaging. And I think every time there's a massive shift one direction, there's a giant pushback in the opposite direction. And so I think despite the state being kind of insane and going to be, increasingly more insane with their policies, it's actually going to be kind of empowering for a lot of us, especially a lot of us that are, intolerant of the bullshit. And, we're going to see these, citadels or Shishi, when I had him on the podcast, was calling them meshtadels, these networks of people transacting and interacting with each other, grow in kind of a decentralized manner. And it's something that I'm, extremely, extremely optimistic about, because free markets are amazing. If the state fails, if there's a massive, collapse and financial collapse, if there's a balkanization of countries or even, individual states in the U.S., what's ultimately going to happen is there's going to be extreme freedom in the marketplace for either a short or an extended period of time. And there's going to be a lot of prosperity for people that, have the ability to actually produce things of value, that are going to get out there and hustle, are going to do things like go raise chickens or, raise cows, or actually grow crops and take advantage of, whatever demand there is. And, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people that, fail, a lot of people living in the cities that don't really have real skill sets, that are doing things like, working booths at the mall or, whatever. Like people like that are going to get, hit pretty hard, but in the short term at least. But I think in the long term, there's going to be a lot of growth. And yeah, I think we underestimate, or I'll speak for myself. I tend to underestimate the power of Bitcoin, to the ability to transact without censorship, to use it privately, to store it without confiscation. There's such an asymmetric power advantage against the state in utilizing something like Bitcoin, coupled with all of these things that I see coming. It's pretty incredible. And I think like a lot of people that have been in the liberty movement or around like in that mindset of like screw the Fed, fuck the state, for a while, for the past 50, 60 years, have been very disempowered. They haven't had the skill sets or the tools, and there's just been a lot of whining. And I think this is our moment, to really get out there and put up a massive fight against the state. And there's going to be awful situations like Jay Stark, where the state gets one of us. But there's so many of us, and we're so decentralized, and there's so many people that have good OPSEC out there. There's no way they can stop us all. It's kind of like the Area 51 raid. If we all Naruto run, they can't shoot us all. So that's got me optimistic. What's got you guys optimistic?
Well, I'll piggyback off what you said, and I've been thinking the same thing about this like pendulum swing, and like I know we've been talking about like FUD and disinformation or fake news from mainstream media and stuff, but I really like what Laser Hodl's been saying lately about like the Great Reset and how 2030 is their deadline, and in that it seems very like dystopian and dark, but the way that I'm seeing stuff is like someone put a tweet out. It was like this week or something, but it was basically like a picture of Bill Gates, and it said, like when you try to start a pandemic, but it backfires, and the Great Awakening of the human race starts like to commence or something like that. And so I say all that to say that I feel that the powers that be, the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum, like those type of unsavory characters, those with an actual conspiracy to push the world in a certain direction, have pushed their hand a little too hard, and they pushed the momentum and the pendulum a little too far out of their grasp, and things got out of control. And in that chaos has been what we've been going through the last couple of years, where there has been a lot of small semi-awakening moments within different groups of people. And so I'm optimistic in the sense that I think they overplay their hand, and they're basically like have accelerated the timeline for us in our favor. And the fact that Bitcoin's pumping at the time, and just everything is pointing towards Bitcoin basically lifting all the tides and helping a lot of human capital get released into the system, and therefore pushing more human flourishment. And so I'm obviously I'm stupidly optimistic on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's great, and like you said, man, I don't think we give Bitcoin enough credit in the effects that it will have on people. Like, as an individual, once you make it through a whole cycle, and you're hodling the ups and downs, and you're like Weinicus Wednesday saying, I'm never going to sell any Bitcoin. It's just like a different thing, and you become a different person. And if we are in that like the greatest time to be alive, I think, is now. And if we are in that last sprint to 2030, where it's either us or them, like it's either dystopian, digital enslavement for the rest of humanity, or it's citadels and Bitcoin and humans interacting and flourishing at a level that has never been seen on planet Earth. Like, this is the final battle, in my opinion. And if it is like Laser Hodl says, and 2030 is that deadline where it's either us or them, well, we all know that open source software and Bitcoin and uncensorable, censorship resistant money will freaking win that game. And centralized power has no match. There is no match to decentralized army of guerrilla cyber hornets that can literally act more retarded than you guys can act professional. And like, that is the stick, is like, play dumb enough to catch your mark. Well, you know, sometimes you think the market's a shitcoiner and sometimes it's a central banker, but who knows? Like only the Bitcoiner knows because we know what's going to happen, dude. We have the crystal ball and number goes up and we have the asymmetric knowledge. And I'm optimistic for that, man. Like I get excited seeing what all my Bitcoin friends are building, you know, like I get excited when I hear jumping into spaces and they're talking about shit that I'm like, wow, like, you know, like what are the smartest people talking about? And I can interact with that on Twitter and they're mainly Bitcoiners. So, you know, I think we all say it's cliche at this point. Like we're bullish on Bitcoiners. Bitcoiners are the real heroes around here.
That was dope.
You get one more of those.
One more.
Go at home.
That's a must-have on the soundboard.
Yeah, it's number one.
Yeah. Good shift in conversation, Weinicus.
What's Weinicus bullish on? The pupusas in El Salvador next week.
21 pupusas a day.
21 pupusas a day keeps a shitcoiner away. You're asking me what I'm optimistic about?
Yeah.
I mean, more so that there's other people out there that are as hopeful as us and that are actually doing something about it. Like I always hear people say, if it wasn't for Bitcoin, I would feel so helpless right now. And I feel the same way. Like the idea of just being completely in control of your wealth and not having it censored. And like you hear Optimist's voice when he's talking and how he makes these bold claims, but it's because we're so confident because we know exactly like how things will operate in the realm of like the Bitcoin protocol. We know what's going to happen from here on out for the most part. So like that, with that confidence comes us now bringing it to fruition in the real world and finding other like-minded individuals that want to live in a peaceful way where they value property rights and can clearly see the like propaganda and state taking advantage of them. Like the whole like sovereign individual thesis, the thing that like really sticks with one when they read that book is that people go where they're treated best. So like I'm excited to see the whole jurisdictional arbitrage play out, and that's like what I'm optimistic about. I'm not necessarily a patriotic or nationalistic person, so I'm really willing to like live by that. Like I'm excited to go to places where we are treated best.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited to see these power structures get torn down because of the freedom that it'll allow people to experience. I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, you just like you look at the emotion that came with the fall of the Soviet Union, and it was messy, but like, you know, tearing down the Berlin Wall, you know, all of these states, you know, breaking off. I think it's going to be a similar experience, except instead of moving into, you know, kind of corruption and having all these meddling, you know, what powers like trying to influence these new jurisdictions, it's going to be actual, you know, communities being able to stand on their own feet and be like, we're not taking part in the bullshit anymore. I think it's going to be amazing.
Definitely.
Weinicus, do you have any predictions on where the best place in the next 10 years for Bitcoiners to be is?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I'm excited to see what El Salvador is about and the sentiment. I know it's like still early. It's not even 2 months into the experiment, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have an answer as far as like countries, but I am more excited to see like actual citadels and like farm communities and things like that come to life, which I think we're still uh, a ways to go from seeing that happen, but there's definitely like talks about it now, which is interesting. Like the narrative is shifting from like number go up, let's get rich, to like let's build communities now, and I'm excited about those kinds of opportunities.
Hmm.
Yeah, countries, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think as much in regions rather than countries, because I'm hoping the countries go away.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, preferably somewhere tropical with like a beach. You know, nice weather, not too hot, not too cool. You
Cause I'm
know,
an
they're not gonna.
island boy.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. So you get it. You get it.
Yeah, the mountains are nice too. There's always nice areas everywhere, but
Yeah.
I mean, there are areas that are tropical and cool by the beach, and you go up the mountain and there's snow. You know, like
yeah, I mean that's why I don't like living in one place all the time. I get to experience it all. Like, who made the rules that you should live in one place forever?
Yeah. The IMF's trying, and the World Economic Forum want it to be that way, but they can go suck one. We're not going to put up with it.
You're gonna live in the pod.
Meltem can go kick some rocks.
she's trying to vie for a better place in the pond.
Yeah.
She commented today on Sam Altman's WorldCoin tweet. He tweeted this whole like, oh, we created WorldCoin. Like he's one of the most popular VCs in Silicon Valley, and it's a coin that will be fairly distributed to everyone in the world. And she commented on it like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how do you plan to make money or something like that? I'm like, well,
Has to scan your retina to biometrics to make sure you get your fair share of this shit coin. That's an interesting project you got there.
Is it actually tied to biometrics? Is that the plan?
Yeah, dude. That little ball thing is called an orb, and what it does is it scans your retina to give you a unique biometric hash that will unlock your fair share of the WorldCoin network. So straight up like commie dystopian hellhole for tracking you. I mean, who knows what they'll do with the retina data? Hopefully, it just is just the encryption pattern. But shit, I don't know. It doesn't. It sounds like at the start of a bad sci-fi movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they're.
But just think that they're like sitting there in a boardroom, like, this is a good idea. This is gonna hit the market. Like, this is the one.
I think this stuff like that is so optimistic because these people are so moronic. Like, just looking at that stuff is just so stupid.
Yeah, it just shows like how far we are ahead of the actual narrative.
Yeah.
Like what the human mind as a collective can comprehend right now is basically shit coins. You know, it's just proven that humanity isn't up to the level of being on the Bitcoin standard yet. But I guess that's what we're here for, to improve ourselves and try to make waves with the people around us so that we can all be ready. It's like Noah's Ark, you know, like the Ark's built. Now, are we ready to, are we worthy to be on the Ark? And that's what Holling's about. You know, we're hitting all-time highs, and hopefully you put in the work to make it through.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I had a moment like that this week on Toxic Airwaves. We were talking about like what a truly anarchist society would look like, and I don't know if I started to allude to Hans Hoppe's like private law thesis, and Arceris BTC was just like, first of all, like we probably wouldn't even need legal structures if we didn't have this state, and we wouldn't need corporations. If we had the state, people have an amazing ability to organize voluntarily to fix problems without these, structures that are only created as a result of the state. And it just blew my mind thinking about that, because it's like you're trying to. It's like when people are trying to explain Bitcoin to people when they're like, oh, it's digital gold or it's digital real estate, and it's these terms trying to explain something with context of what we already know, something truly new and novel. And yeah, it's going to be fun, kind of going out and exploring and discovering what this new world will look like.
Oh yeah, bro. Like, we're gonna laugh looking back at ourselves and be like, oh, I had it, like I understood, but like I couldn't even comprehend then what the world is like today, 20 years later, or whatever, 10 years later. It's just like, shit, we were promised flying cars, like Back to the Future. We're nowhere close to that yet, but maybe on a Bitcoin standard, we can, shoot past our markers, and we'll look back on this and like, holy shit, like I couldn't even have comprehended that happening. Like that was not even on my radar. So it should be exciting.
Well, we'll have flying cars as soon as the state ends.
Let's go. Foolish.
Get rid of the regulations. I mean, if you think about it, if we had flying cars, we wouldn't need roads, and then we wouldn't need governments to build the roads.
Ooh. Wow, now we're getting real things, boy.
We need the state to protect property.
That one drives me nuts. I wrote a whole article on that today of why that's a stupid idea. I should have titled it like "The State Hates Your Property" or something like that.
Yeah, you got to share that with me after.
Sounds good. Well, cool. Kind of wrapping up. Do you guys have anything to shill?
We could just show Bitcoin Kindergarten. Guys, come join us every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Watch us live on YouTube. Come troll us in our YouTube chat. Or if you want to be a part of the Discord chat, throw some memes that end up on the show. Be a part of the culture. Come out with us in our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. It's @BTC Kindergarten. This is Optimist. Fiat, my living truth. Thanks for having me, Tucson. I love what you and Skeef do. I think you guys are a great duo. And yeah, I'm trying to steal some game, bro. I like what you guys are doing on the stream. So shouts out to you, bro. And thanks for having us. And keep coming back to the show. You help us out over there, bro. So much love, and keep killing it.
It's the best show, and you can steal whatever you want. Skeef and I don't believe in intellectual property, so.
Obvious. Yeah. See, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah,
you guys are good duo.
You got anything to show, Weinicus?
No, just what Optimist said. Bitcoin Kindergarten every Wednesday. Just come have a good time with us. Talk about anything you possibly want.
Go like Weinicus's memes on Simply Bitcoin. He's chief meme officer over there.
That was the first place I heard of you, Weinicus. Was on there.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'm spreading the message through humor, so everyone has their different angle, but yeah, just shouts out to Simply Bitcoin, and also, of course, this was an awesome conversation, and what you and Skeef are doing on Toxic Airwaves is great, so big shout out to you guys.
Yeah, love to have you guys on there. Well, cool. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks.
No worries.
That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that conversation. And big thank you to Optimist and Weinicus for coming on the show. I'll be there every Wednesday, or most every Wednesday, for the Bitcoin Kindergarten. And I hope you definitely check it out and follow them on Twitter. But yeah, there's a lot to get excited about right now. There's a lot to be concerned about right now. But ultimately, what I see is incredibly important is choosing wisely who you surround yourself with. And it's something that doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to geographic location. You can surround yourself with solid people via the internet, and we can get connected in such, fantastic ways. I'm a big promoter of the Bitcoin Meetup scene in Arizona. I'm really excited about what we have going on there. On Saturday, we had a great meetup in Tucson. And tomorrow, upcoming Tuesday, the 26th, we're going to be having a Halloween party somewhere up in Phoenix. And I'm stoked. It's just going to be an awesome time where we're, really trying to build out some infrastructure and build out this community of people that can rely on each other, utilize Bitcoin well. People can come in and get, instruction and knowledge of the things that they need to do to take care of themselves in this broken monetary system. So I hope you check that out. And thanks for watching this conversation with these guys, and have a good one.